Thank you very much, and a pleasure to have joined this call and to listen to such great initiatives being taken. I'll take the opportunity to share a bit about what we're doing at Engro Polymer, and without further ado, I'll get right into it. So today, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about something slightly different. On many platforms, we have spoken extensively about our different DE&I initiatives. And I thought this was time to maybe take a step back to connect this to the roots of what drives DE&I in a company like Engro, and specifically Engro Polymer. We have a competency framework which has been around for many years. And I'm just going to share it very quickly. There are four main parts to the competency framework: acts with ownership, puts people first, collaborates openly, and encourages innovation and change. This typically is the framework through which we do business and develop our people. However, the heart of this framework is actually much, much bigger and deeper. It is about developing the character of the people who come work with us each day. And over here, I think I'll just share I'll share very openly. I was sitting with my HR team and they asked me, BK, would you hire for skill or attitude? And it got me thinking, because the answer would always be skill earlier on. But I think attitude today has become a lot more important. The kind of people you hire make the culture of the organization. And hence, character is something that has really come to the forefront of how we do things and what we do at our workplace. In terms of character, there are 5 main areas that we touch upon or that we feel form the bedrock of what a character is defined as. The first one being truth. How is truth important? Obviously, when it comes to what you do, just putting it down in a policy or a statement is not enough. You want to make sure you have proof of concept, and seeing is believing. So what we did was, the first step is we looked at how we are doing. We did a self-assessment at Engro Polymer. When we looked at our diversity numbers in 2019, our gender diversity stood at 4.5%. There was one way to say that, we're an engineering concern, manufacturing does not have too many women, and it's fine, it is what it is. But the other way was to acknowledge that there was a gap, and then this was also an opportunity. And we took that opportunity, we put in place policies, and we pushed the status quo by changing the minds of the hiring managers to say that we must give women an equal opportunity to come forward. We have multiple programs through which we hire women today in STEM roles, starting from the trade apprentices. These are people who come in with a diploma, and honestly, a lot of them come in with such basic knowledge of how to even operate outside their homes. A lot of them study at their homes and just go to give exams in universities and colleges just to get a diploma. So when they come to the workplace, it's a very different world for them. And we make sure that we are able to handhold, able to make them feel comfortable. And in a year's journey, you see a very different person. You see a very different young woman who has joined the organization and the kind of confidence she carries with her. We also hire women as graduate trainee engineers. These are women who typically come with an engineering degree. And, who says that we don't have great women graduating? Because our GTE batch from 2024 had a representation of 48% in terms of gender diversity. This obviously has really helped to push the number over the last 5 years. And today we stand at 13% with an ambition to be at 16% by 2027. And over here, I'll second what Tazeen said, that when these numbers are hard KPIs, then it's hard to look away from them because you have to make them happen. So while I spoke about the gender diversity piece, I think another area where we felt we had not been able to move the needle was also bring in the differently abled. And that's where we partnered with Now PDP to bring in our Khudi associates. This is a platform by which we give those individuals an opportunity who come in a softer landing as trainees and are given a hypercare period of 1 year. We try our best to offer them permanent roles after, but my philosophy on this is very clear. I think the idea is to bring someone in to make them sufficient to be able to segue back into the workplace, be it with us, be it with another organization. And not every organization has the muscle to train for a year. So I think in one way you are able to create that kind of bandwidth with people who can then go and join different companies. With that, I come to the second principle, which is trust, where we talk about being honest and upfront and acknowledging where we're not so great. How do you build trust is through your actions. We do have a Speak Up platform where you can go and register anything that you feel is not working right in the organization. But at EPCL, we also have an anti-harassment committee where any female or any member, in fact, is free to come up and register and get advice if they feel unsafe or unsecure about anything at the workplace. This is a more personalized platform with leaders from Angro-Polymer, because obviously the connect is more stronger, it's more emotional, and there is a lot more trust in terms of sharing openly of what they are feeling unsure about. Along with that, because 80% of our population is at the plant site, we also have a very big number of third-party individuals who work at the plant. And when we bring in women, the first thing you want to do is you want to create an environment that is conducive to having those women work with you. And that obviously meant 100% of the population had to be trained on unconscious biases, and to a point where we really had to drill down what are appropriate and inappropriate behaviors at the workplace. Sometimes I do feel it's us really taking the extra step by maybe spelling it out too much. But I think better to be safe than sorry. So it is probably better to share than to tomorrow say, oh, I wish I had shared. And even though the third-party employees are not part of our direct scope, 50% of them have already been trained on unconscious bias, and other 50% are in progress as we speak. Lastly, we always say that women are women's biggest advocates. And while having male advocates is of course great, it is still important to have women take care of other women as well. It's a lot easier to go up to a senior or even a female colleague and talk about how the morning was not so great at home today and the children were crying while you were stepping out, versus going to a male colleague, because they might not be able to fully relate. And that's where we bring in our mentorship program of Breaking the Glass Ceiling, where we took a group of 20 women through a designated program to develop them into mentors through a third-party trainer. And now, through Train the Trainer model, we've made them mentors for other young women in the organization. I now move on to a slightly more emotional space and something that's very close to our hearts. When I talked about truth and trust, I think you also have to approach your business with a lot of humility. And humility plays a very important part, because while it is easy to talk about big numbers and big achievements, how do you also remain humble in those times? That is what really truly reflects your character. And I think our humility comes when we extend ourselves beyond our company, when we go towards our community. Our plant operates at Port Qasim, and the nearby communities, which is Gagar Patak, we actually have partnered with TCF, where we've opened up 2 schools, and there are 2 more underway as we speak. Along with that, we also have a program whereby we upskill plumbers, carpenters, and fabricators, because yes, it's easy to sell PVC or our product, but you also want to make sure that people who are using your product are able to benefit with you as well. And hence, different programs are in place to be able to ensure that while we create wealth and for our people and our shareholders, we also ensure that we take the community with us. Another part which is important is also talking about how do we specifically empower the women entrepreneurs in our country. We have a nice outlet called Think PVC on Khayabane Bukhari. I'm sure you must have seen it. It's a 3-story building, and the whole premise of that outlet is to be able to showcase our products. But we thought, if you have such a great outlet at one of the best areas in Karachi, why not use it for more? So once every 6 months, we actually put up a women's entrepreneur bazaar for 2 days. We invite entrepreneurs to come in. It's usually free of cost. We tell them to set up their stalls, and it's a bit of a launching pad, if I may say so, for women entrepreneurs who otherwise would not be able to get such an opportunity to display and to be able to get the reach that they want from customers. I now move on to the 4th pillar, which is integrity. And integrity is being able to always do the right thing. Now, all of us understand the difference between what is right and what is not right. However, when you are at the workplace, you are faced with multiple decisions each day, and sometimes it becomes hard to choose the right thing. In order to do what is required, you also have to give people the platform to feel hopeful. You have to be able to create that feeling that yes, I am taken care of, and I can build a sustainable lifestyle for myself instead of reaching out to different organizations or to different people for help. Umeed Nau is one of those programs that was mentioned earlier, so I think that makes my job a lot easier to talk about this. It is something that Gul started when she was at Engro Polymer, and I think it's something that we carry forward with us as a legacy. It is our forklift program where we had 21 women who went through a training period and graduated. Never had they thought that they would be doing something like this, entering into a field that is predominantly has always seen men working in it. And today we are now working on Umeed Nau 2.0, where we want to bring our second batch of women who will go through the similar program. And then lastly, striving in times of hardship. The journey is never easy. And I link back to the first slide that I talked about, where I said we assessed where we are not doing so great. And today, where we are has been quite a journey. There have been ups and downs, at times with budgets, at times with taking a different direction, at times with aligning the right stakeholders, and at times with also cyclical business challenges. But what truly shows your character is how you show up in those tough times. I think it's the easiest when the business goes through challenges to say, let's cut out these initiatives that seem to be a good to have, but not a must have. And that's where we need to come together as a leadership team to say, you know what? Some things are now no longer a good to have. They have become a must have. If you want women to continue coming to the workplace, you have to ensure that you have a daycare in place. You have to be able to help them with safe means of transportation. You have to be able to give them an opportunity to take a break and then yet come back into the workplace. And you also have to ensure that you create a safe environment where they can work on their mental and physical well-being while also contributing to the organization. With that, every story that I've shared today, a woman behind a forklift, a child opening a book in Gagar Phatak, a plumber learning safe techniques, and a colleague truly feeling respected is a living example of character in action. And that is exactly what we strive to do, help our employees build their character in a way that helps them to be proud of who they are and make us proud as an organization.